Have you ever set your alarm for 5:00 a.m., heart pounding with possibility, only to smash the snooze button and wake at 8, drowning in guilt? You've seen the posts, heard the podcast, successful people rise before dawn. You tried, once, twice, 10 times. Each failure whispered the same lie. You're not built for this. You need your sleep. You're just not a morning person. But deep down, a quiet voice refuses to die. What if the first hour of your day isn't just another hour? What if it's the hidden lever that can lift your entire life? What if one ordinary man's unbreakable choice could prove your destiny isn't written in the stars? It's forged in the silence before sunrise. This is the story of Thomas, a man who had nothing left to lose except the chains he wore every night, until 5:00 a.m. became his rebellion, his weapon, his salvation. In a gritty industrial town where factory smoke never quite cleared, 32-year-old Thomas lived as a night security guard. Each evening at 8:00 p.m. he walked through the warehouse gates. Each morning at 6:00 a.m., hollow-eyed and bone-tired, he trudged home to collapse. His paycheck vanished on rent and rice. His home was a single room, a sagging mattress on the floor, a fan that wheezed more than it cooled, a lone bulb that flickered like his hope. Poverty scarred his body, but the deeper wound was inside, trapped, invisible. Every dawn, as he walked home through streets still asleep, he passed glowing windows, families laughing over breakfast, children tying school shoes, men in pressed shirts chasing purpose. Thomas would pause, chest tight, and wonder, will this be my forever? Watching other people live my dreams while I sleep through mine. He wasn't lazy. He worked harder than most, patrolling dark corridors, staying vigilant through endless nights. Yet hard work in the wrong direction is just elegant exhaustion. He applied for better jobs, doors slammed shut. No degree, no connections. He dreamed of skills, of change, but exhaustion won every time. Sleep swallowed his days. His mother called weakly from the village. Her voice trembled with love and worry. Thomas, my son, when will life smile on you? I'm growing old. I want to see you rise before I go. He'd force brightness into his reply. Soon, Mama, I'm trying. But trying without direction is just motion. The truth cut deepest. He lived backwards. The world charged forward while he slept through it. One whisper haunted him. There has to be more. There has to be another way. Then came the call that shattered everything. One freezing November morning, his phone rang as he clocked out. His sister, voice breaking, Thomas, come home. Mama collapsed. Hospital. His world tilted. He caught the first bus, 3 hours of torment, praying with every mile. At the rural clinic, his mother lay frail but awake. The doctor spoke quietly, exhaustion, stress, medicine they couldn't afford. She gripped his hand, eyes shining with final urgency. Thomas, don't waste your life like I did. Find your way, promise me. He stayed until she slept. Staring at her weathered hands, hands that had toiled fields for decades, he felt something fracture inside. Not grief. Rage. Fierce, holy rage at helplessness, at surrender. He stepped into the pre-dawn dark. 5:00 a.m. The village lay silent, yet a few farmers already walked toward fields, lanterns swinging. Birds sang softly. The air felt alive, pure, pregnant with possibility. In that sacred stillness, Thomas made a vow that would rewrite his future. No more, he whispered to the stars. I refuse this life. Whatever it costs, whatever it takes, I will rise, I will build, I will become. The fire had been lit. Thomas returned to the city carrying two things heavier than his small bag: a promise to his mother and a burning decision that refused to be extinguished. That same evening, instead of collapsing into his usual 7:00 a.m. sleep, he sat on the edge of his mattress and stared at the card Mr. Chen had given him. His body screamed for rest. His mind screamed louder. Do it now or forever stay the same. He set his alarm for 5:00 a.m. Not 5:05, not around 5, exactly 5:00. Then he placed the phone on the far side of the room so he would have to stand up to silence it. A small act, a massive declaration. Sleep came fitfully. When the alarm pierced the darkness at 5:00 sharp, it felt like betrayal. Every muscle rebelled. His eyelids weighed 1,000 pounds. The inner voice was vicious. You're exhausted. You worked all night. Just one more hour. You deserve it. But Thomas remembered his mother's frail hand in his. He remembered her whisper, "Find your way." He remembered the rage outside the clinic. He threw the blanket off and stood. The first morning was brutal. He sat at his tiny table in the dark, phone screen glowing, watching a free Excel tutorial. His eyes burned. His brain fogged. He kept rewinding the same 30 seconds because he couldn't focus. At 6:00 a.m., he forced himself outside for the second hour, 30 minutes walking the empty streets, 30 minutes reading a PDF about basic accounting he'd downloaded the night before. His legs felt like lead. His mind kept drifting to the warm bed waiting. By 7:30 he crawled back under the covers, slept until 2:00 p.m., dragged himself to his night shift, and repeated the cycle. Day after day, the same war. The body is honest, it fights change with pain. The first week was hell, headaches, irritability, moments when he stood in front of the mirror at 4:58 a.m. and seriously considered quitting. Who are you trying to fool? You're not Mr. Chen, you're just Thomas. But every time the alarm sounded, he remembered Mr. Chen's 3 rules. No negotiation. Sleep by 9:00 p.m. The first weeks will try to break you, push through. He protected his 9:00 p.m. bedtime like a fortress. No late-night scrolling, no extra TV, no excuses. He drank water, dimmed the lights, and lay down even when his mind raced. Sleep came slowly at first, then deeper. Around day 18, something shifted. He woke at 4:57 a.m., 3 minutes before the alarm, not because he was excited, because his body had begun to expect it. The resentment was fading. In its place came something new, quiet pride. The Excel tutorials started making sense. He memorized shortcuts. He practiced formulas on imaginary warehouse data. During his 6:00 a.m. walks, the sunrise stopped being something he resented and became something he greeted, like an old friend showing up to witness his effort. By the end of month 1, he had finished his first online certificate in Excel basics. He framed the digital badge on his phone's home screen, not to show anyone but to remind himself, "This is real. I did this." People at work began to notice. "Thomas, you look different," a coworker said one night. "Less tired, more alive." He smiled quietly. "I'm waking up at 5:00 a.m. They laughed. "You're crazy." "Maybe," he said, "but I'm not stuck anymore." Month 2 arrived like a test. He chose accounting as his skill, not because he loved numbers, but because every business needs someone who understands them. He devoured free YouTube courses, pausing to take handwritten notes in a cheap notebook. His morning walks turned into brisk power walks. His body slimmed. His shoulders straightened. His mind sharpened. He began to feel it, the compound effect of small, consistent mornings. 2 hours a day, 14 hours a week, 60 hours a month, each hour a brick in a new foundation. One morning in the second month, while walking under a pink-streaked sky, he caught himself smiling for no reason. Not because life was suddenly easy, because he was no longer waiting for life to change. He was changing it, 5:00 a.m. at a time. He wasn't rich yet, he wasn't promoted, but he was no longer invisible to himself. And that was the beginning of everything.
Subscribe now. Make sure to share for more stories like this.
3 months had passed since Thomas made his vow in the pre-dawn darkness. 90 mornings, 90 alarms at exactly 5:00 a.m., 90 walks under changing skis, 90 hours of deliberate, lonely effort while the rest of the world slept. He had not missed a single day. The compound effect was no longer theoretical, it was visible. His body moved with purpose, lighter, stronger, no longer dragging. His mind had sharpened into something he barely recognized, clear, focused, hungry. The Excel spreadsheets he once struggled to understand now flowed from his fingers like second nature. Accounting principles that had seemed foreign were now tools he wielded with confidence. He had completed 3 online certificates. He had handwritten over 200 pages of notes. He had built a simple but powerful inventory tracking system for the warehouse, something no one had ever bothered to create properly. And then came the moment everything tilted. On the 87th morning of his 5:00 a.m. journey, Thomas arrived at work still carrying the quiet glow of his sunrise walk. During the night shift, he opened his laptop and ran the spreadsheet he had built. Numbers that once took the supervisor hours to compile now appeared in clean, color-coded tables in seconds. He hesitated only a moment before printing it and placing it on the supervisor's desk with a short note. Thought this might help with next month's stock take, Thomas. He didn't expect much. He had simply done the work. At 5:45 a.m., just as he was preparing to clock out, the supervisor called him into the small office. "Thomas," the man said, holding the printed pages, "where did you learn this?" Thomas met his eyes evenly. "I wake up at 5:00 a.m. every day. I teach myself." The supervisor stared for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "The owner saw this. He wants to talk to you." 10 minutes later, Thomas stood in the warehouse manager's office. The owner, a quiet, sharp-eyed man in his 60s, was looking at the spreadsheet on his computer screen. "You built this?" he asked. "Yes, sir." "You understand our inventory cycles?" "I've watched them for years. I just organized what I saw." The owner leaned back. "We're opening a new accounting position, day shift. Needs someone who knows the warehouse and can handle basic books. The pay is double what you make now. Interested?" Thomas felt the room tilt. Double day shift and office, a future. He swallowed. "Yes, sir, very interested." "Start Monday. Bring that same energy." When the door closed behind him, Thomas stood in the corridor, heart hammering. 3 months ago he had been invisible, a night guard no one noticed. Now he was being handed a ladder out of the pit he had lived in for years. That evening he called Mr. Chen. "I did it," Thomas said. 90 days, never missed once. Today I was offered the accounting job. Day shift, double pay." Silence on the other end. Then Mr. Chen's voice, warm and proud. "I knew you had it in you. Most people talk about changing. Very few do the work when no one is watching. You did." "I almost quit so many times," Thomas admitted. "That's why it matters. Everyone wants the harvest. Almost no one plants in the dark." Mr. Chen paused. "Remember this, the 5:00 a.m. habit isn't something you did to get the job. It's who you are now. Don't stop. The moment you stop building, the foundation begins to crack." "I won't stop," Thomas said. "This isn't about a job anymore. It's about who I'm becoming." 1 year later, Thomas was no longer just an accountant. He was the lead accountant for the entire warehouse operation. He had saved enough to bring his mother to the city, rent a clean 2-bedroom apartment, and pay for the medicine and care she needed. Every morning at 5:00 a.m., the alarm still sounded. He still rose, not because he had to anymore, because those 2 quiet hours had become sacred. That was when he studied new software, read business books, planned expansions, wrote ideas for his own small venture one day. While the world slept, Thomas built. His coworkers sometimes asked, "Thomas, you've made it. Why still wake up at 5?" He always gave the same answer, with the same quiet smile. "Because success isn't a finish line, it's a daily practice, and mine begins before the sun rises." The harvest had come, but the planting never stopped. Thomas stood on the small balcony of the new 2-bedroom apartment, watching the first light of day paint the city skyline in soft gold. His mother slept peacefully inside, no longer coughing through the night, no longer worrying about tomorrow. The medicine was paid for. The fridge was full. The rent was covered months in advance. For the first time in his life, Thomas felt the weight of survival lift from his shoulders. And still the alarm rang at 5:00 a.m. He didn't groan anymore. He didn't negotiate with himself. He simply opened his eyes, smiled into the quiet dark, and rose. The habit had become part of him, deeper than routine, closer to identity. Those 2 sacred hours before the world woke up were no longer about escaping poverty. They were about building something bigger than he had ever imagined. In the stillness of 5:00 to 7:00 a.m., Thomas studied advanced accounting software, read biographies of entrepreneurs, sketched business plans for a small logistics service he dreamed of starting one day. He tracked market trends, learned basic coding for automation, wrote letters to his future self. Every sunrise became a quiet meeting with possibility. His coworkers sometimes teased him gently. "Thomas, you're the lead accountant now. You've got the office, the title, the raise. Why still torture yourself at 5 a.m.? He would lean back in his chair, look out the window at the waking city, and answer the same way every time. "Because the moment I stop planting, the harvest stops growing." One morning, almost 2 years after that first vow outside the rural clinic, Thomas received an email that stopped his breath. A local business association had noticed the efficiency systems he had introduced at the warehouse. They invited him to speak at their annual conference, not as an employee, but as a success story. The topic they requested: how ordinary discipline creates extraordinary outcomes. He stood at the podium in front of 200 people, heart steady, voice calm. He told them about the night guard who once walked home while the world dreamed. He told them about a mother's plea, a stranger's card, a decision made at 5:00 a.m. in the dark. He told them the numbers: 2 hours a day, 14 hours a week, over 700 hours a year, 3 extra months of life that most people sleep away. And then he looked out at the audience, men and women in suits, entrepreneurs, dreamers, and said the words that had become his truth. "You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, and the strongest system I know begins before the sun." The room rose in applause, not because he was special, because he had proven something universal. Change doesn't require genius or luck. It requires showing up when no one is watching. After the talk, a young woman approached him, barely 25, eyes bright with hunger. "I want what you have," she said, "but I keep hitting snooze. How do I start?" Thomas smiled, the same quiet smile he had worn on the bus years ago when Mr. Chen changed his life. "Tonight, set your alarm for 5:00 a.m. Put the phone across the room. Decide one thing, one skill, one habit you'll work on for the first hour. Protect your bedtime like it's gold. And when the alarm screams tomorrow, remember this: your future self is already awake, waiting for you to show up." She nodded, wrote it down, and walked away carrying the same spark Thomas once carried. Years later, people still talk about Thomas, not because he became rich or famous, but because he became proof. Proof that destiny isn't decided at birth. It's decided in the dark at 5:00 a.m., one disciplined morning at a time. So here is your invitation, my friend. Tonight, when the world quiets, set your alarm. Not for 5:15, not around 5. Exactly 5:00 a.m. Put the phone across the room. Choose one thing to build in that first golden hour. Protect your sleep like a treasure. And when the alarm sounds tomorrow, don't think, just stand. Because on the other side of that small act of courage is the person you've been waiting to become. Thomas once had nothing but a choice. You have more. You have this moment. You have the dawn waiting. Will you meet it? Your future is already awake. Don't let it wait another day.
Subscribe now. Make sure to share for more stories like this.